It is time. It is time for Indonesia to rise again. We Indonesians live in abundant resources. It is time for everyone to live independently, help one another, and give alms. We are rich in cultures, innovations, creativities, traditions, and agriculture. The global halal market is now wide open. With more than 1.8 billion Muslim consumers worldwide. This is a time for Indonesian products to extend across nations. Together we can make Indonesia prosperous. Go halal, go global.
Dalam rangka mendorong pengembangan ekonomi syariah, Bank Indonesia bersama kementerian dan otoritas yang tergabung dalam Komite Nasional Ekonomi dan Keuangan Syariah, serta berbagai stakeholders ekonomi dan keuangan syariah, kembali menyelenggarakan ISEF ke-7. Pandemi COVID-19 memberikan dampak yang sangat luas, tidak hanya krisis kesehatan, namun menyentuh berbagai sisi sektor kehidupan, termasuk sektor ekonomi yang terdampak luas. Untuk meminimalisir hal tersebut, berbagai usaha dan kolaborasi telah dilakukan oleh pemerintah dan berbagai lembaga negara. Hal tersebut dilakukan melalui penyesuaian anggaran belanja di berbagai sektor dan penerbitan kebijakan bauran lainnya untuk memperkuat stimulus ekonomi. Penguatan kelembagaan juga dilakukan oleh pemerintah untuk mendorong ekonomi dan keuangan syariah melalui perubahan fungsi KNKS menjadi KNEKS agar pengembangan sektor keuangan syariah juga dapat dilakukan beriringan dengan pengembangan ekonominya. Koordinasi di antara kementerian dan lembaga terus ditingkatkan agar kebijakan yang ditempuh bisa memberikan dampak positif yang sesuai dengan kondisi di lapangan. Dunia pesantren dan berbagai penggiat usaha syariah berikhtiar dengan inovasi melalui penerapan usaha berbasis protokol COVID-19, mendorong produk ketahanan pangan, dan mengembangkan renewable energy. Pemasaran berbasis teknologi digital dilakukan agar penyediaan produk halal dapat dipasarkan secara luas dengan harga terjangkau. Ekosistem keuangan syariah dikembangkan melalui berbagai penerbitan produk keuangan syariah seperti cash wakaf link sukuk, bank wakaf mikro, dan realisasi kur. Pada keuangan sosial syariah masyarakat secara berbondong-bondong menyalurkan zakat, infak, sedekah, dan wakaf atau ziswaf untuk membantu masyarakat yang kekurangan. Seluruh hal ini dilakukan agar manfaat pengembangan ekonomi dan keuangan syariah dapat dirasakan oleh seluruh komponen ekonomi bangsa. Ikhtiar demi ikhtiar terus digelorakan oleh seluruh elemen bangsa. Kebijakan yang adaptif, inovasi pada sektor usaha dan keuangan syariah memberikan kita semangat untuk terus bekerja sama dalam kebaikan. Dalam rangka mengoptimalisasi dampak positif kerjasama yang telah dibangun oleh seluruh pemangku kepentingan, Bank Indonesia bersama dengan KNEKS menciptakan sebuah platform terintegrasi, yaitu Indonesia Syariah Economic Festival atau ISEF dan Festival Ekonomi Syariah atau FESYAR yang dapat mengakomodir terbentuknya silaturahim yang erat di antara regulator, profesional, pelaku usaha syariah, unit usaha pesantren, korporasi domestik dan internasional, komunitas masyarakat, dan akademisi. Diharapkan dengan bertemunya seluruh komponen tersebut, Tujuan menjadikan Indonesia sebagai salah satu pusat ekonomi dan keuangan syariah dunia dapat terwujud. Saat ini, ISEF telah memasuki penyelenggaraannya yang ketujuh, yang telah berhasil meraih pencapaian positif pada bidang ekonomi dan keuangan syariah Indonesia, terhubungnya pelaku usaha syariah dengan investor, dan peningkatan literasi masyarakat. Mulai tahun 2017, ISEF selalu diawali dengan kegiatan festiar di 3 daerah, Sumatera, Jawa, dan Timur Indonesia. Pelaksanaan ISEF dan festiar kali ini dilakukan dengan konsep yang berbeda dari tahun-tahun sebelumnya, yaitu menggunakan format virtual. Rangkaian ISEF 2020 akan mulai dilaksanakan pada bulan Agustus dan puncaknya pada bulan Oktober 2020. Mari melangkah bersama ISEF 2020 menjadikan Indonesia sebagai pusat ekonomi dan keuangan syariah dunia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you all are doing well or doing good, even though pandemic COVID-19 still happen in our country and also worldwide. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Lady Marina, and as you have seen on the video, I'm a journalist who has spent the past 7 years working on a TV program that has been airing for the past 30 years, Seputar Indonesia RCTI. It is a pleasure and also an honor for me to be able to stand in front of you and become your moderator for our webinars today entitled Global Consumer Halal Trends, that brought to you by Bank Indonesia in cooperation with Indonesia Halal Lifestyle Center. But before we begin these webinars, I'd like to give you a good news or some announcement that in this webinar, we will give you some gift, okay? So there will be gift that be given to you for the attendees who throw the most interesting questions, also appear to be the most active attendees. By saying active, that means you could answer some of the questions that thrown by our panelists or also ask some interesting questions by the end of the sessions. Oke, jadi ada beberapa hadiah yang tentunya akan dibagikan bagi Bapak Ibu semua peserta webinars yang bisa memberikan pertanyaan paling menarik dan juga yang tampil sebagai attendees atau peserta webinar paling aktif dengan menjawab pertanyaan yang diberikan oleh para panelis maupun kemudian juga memberikan sejumlah input atau pendapat dan masukan-masukan. And the prize, there will be vouchers for 5 attendees with most interesting questions. Also, jacket from Sajia Collections, Woman Batik Blues from Mita Fauzan Collections, and natural pattern silk batik material from Hanan Collection. Wow, banyak banget nih hadiahnya. Jadi pastikan Bapak Ibu semuanya untuk berlomba-lomba memberikan pertanyaan yang paling menarik untuk menjadi peserta webinar yang paling aktif, karena tentunya nanti di akhir acara akan kita umumkan siapa-siapa saja di antara Bapak Ibu yang berhak untuk mendapatkan hadiah-hadiah ini. Okay? Right, so before we begin this webinar, in order to make this webinar run smoothly and also bring benefit to each and every one of us, let us listen to the recitation of Holy Quran that will be read by Ustadz Hendrianto.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تحرموا طيبات ما أحل الله لكم لا تحرموا طيبات ما أحل الله لكم ولا تعتدوا إن الله لا يحب المعتدين وكلوا مما رزقكم الله حلالا طيبا واتقوا الله الذي أنتم به مؤمنون صدق الله العلي العظيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم، لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم الأموات، فيا قاضي الحاجات اللهم سهل في كل أمورنا، اللهم سهل في كل أمورنا، اللهم سهل في كل أمورنا. Ya Allah, mudahkanlah segala urusan kami ya Allah. Mudahkan segala urusan kami ya Allah. Engkau maha yang memudahkan segala urusan hamba-hambamu ya Allah. Maka kami mohon kepadamu ya Allah, mudahkan segala urusan kami ya Allah. Allahumma taqabbal minna salatana wa siyamana wa ruku'ana wa sujudana wa takhashu'ana وجميع أعمالنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم بارك في أعمالنا، اللهم بارك في أعمالنا، اللهم بارك في أعمالنا، اللهم بارك في مالنا، اللهم بارك في أموالنا، اللهم بارك في كل أمورنا يا رب العالمين. Ya Allah, berkahi harta kami ya Allah, berkahi segala urusan kami ya Allah, berkahi pekerjaan kami ya Allah, berkahi institusi kami ya Allah. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arinal batila batila warzuqna ijtinabah. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. Ya Allah, dengan zat-Mu yang maha mulia, yang maha tinggi, yang maha besar, kami mohon kepadamu ya Allah, tunjukkan kepada kami yang hak adalah hak ya Allah, tunjukkan kepada kami yang hak adalah hak ya Allah, dan berikan kami kekuatan untuk mengikuti yang hak itu ya Allah, ya Rabban, ya Rahman, ya Rahim. Ya Allah, kuatkan niat kami ya Allah, tekad kami untuk berhijrah ke jalan yang Engkau ridhai ya Allah, untuk mencari keridhaan-Mu ya Allah. Kami mohon kepadamu ya Allah, kuatkan tekad kami ya Allah untuk berhijrah ya Allah. Ya Allah, tampakkanlah kepada kami yang batil adalah batil, dan berikanlah kami kekuatan untuk tidak mengikuti yang batil ya Allah. Berikan kami kekuatan untuk tidak mengikuti yang batil ya Allah, dan berikanlah kami kekuatan ya Allah, kekuatan untuk menjauhi segala yang Engkau tidak ridhai ya Allah, yang Engkau murkai ya Allah. Ya Rabbana ya Rahim, istajib du'ana ya Rabbal Alamin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, Amin, Ya Rabbal Alamin. And that was the recitation of Holy Quran that was read by Ustadz Hendrianto. For next, you are going to listen to welcoming remarks by Mr. Priyono, Head of Development, Group Sharia Economic and Finance Department, Central Bank of Indonesia. To Mr. Priyono, the stage is all yours.
Terima kasih. Mbak, apakah bisa dengar suara saya?
Bisa, Pak Priyono, sangat jelas Pak
Bisa
Priyono.
ya? Ya, terima kasih. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished speakers, Pak Saptan Nirwandar, Chairman of Indonesia Halal Lifestyle Center and Indonesia Tourism Forum, Dr. Barbara Ruiz Bejanaro, Doctor and Islamic Studies, the Halal Academy Spine, Pak Ali Karisma, National Chairman of Indonesia Fashion Chamber, Mrs. Alia Khan, Chairwoman of Islamic Fashion and Design Council, Dubai, and also Ms. Lady Mariana as a moderator. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a very good afternoon and welcome to the Halal Lifestyle Series, Global Halal Consumer Trends, in collaboration with Indonesia Halal Lifestyle Center. First of all, let's share our highest gratitude toward Allah, God Almighty, for His blessing only. We are able to attend this event. Salawat and salam are conveyed to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, our beloved one, the most honored person ever. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you to this webinar. It is such an honor for Bank Indonesia to have this precious opportunity to hold this seminar, in which I believe will give a rich and thoughtful insight for all participants in understanding the global halal consumer trends amidst COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, please allow me to express my appreciation and sincere gratitude to all speakers who have joined from thousands of miles to share their expertise and knowledge. And also, I would like to give my utmost appreciation to all of the seminar participants for your enthusiasm and eagerness to enlist in this program. Ladies and gentlemen, the transformation of the Sharia economy and finance is an important part of realizing inclusive and sustainable growth. The basic principle of Islamic economics ensure that financial transaction activities are based on real assets or projects. With the result, the Islamic economy plays an important role in supporting the improvement of the economic structure, developing the real sector, and promoting sustainable economic growth. The role of Indonesia Sharia economy as a source of new economic growth is supported by the great potential in terms of the prospects for consumption of the world Muslim community in various sectors of the halal industry. The consumption values is projected to reach about 3.2 trillion in 2024. We still remember on March 2020, WHO characterized COVID-19 as a pandemic. This declaration has an impact on the increased risk of slowing down global economy. Restrictive movements in many countries, including in Indonesia, of course, causes a hurt for many businesses, such as airline, tourism, restaurant, and even retailing. Accordingly, it is important to note how the consumer trend in Indonesia affected by COVID-19. Based on the survey data collected by McKinsey on June 2020, it's about 40% of Indonesian consumers are optimistic about quick economic rebound, a sentiment that has remained stable over the last month. Although consumers feel slightly less impact on their livelihoods, they remain cautious about their spending. For instance, becoming more mindful of how they spend their money, looking for ways to save money and trading down. I hope we don't like this. Yeah. The survey also indicated the strong shift to purchasing via online channels is expected to prevail even once COVID-19 subsides. With close to 60% of consumers having tried a new digital shopping method. Most Indonesians are waiting for milestones beyond the release of government restrictions before engaging regularly in out-of-home activities. Consumers have adopted new low-touch alternatives to behaviors such as remote learning, telemedicine, online fitness, and wellness, which may last beyond the crisis. In line with the optimism of the consumers, Indonesia experienced net export reached about 1.6 billion US dollar in July 2020, the highest in the last 2 years of non-haram product. The food products and beverage group's net export returned to a surplus after experiencing a deficit since early 2020. This increase was mainly driven by increased export of cocoa product and the decline in import across the non-haram food group. Transaction for non-haram product in e-commerce also continue to grow, dominated by fashion, halal food and beverage, and cosmetics, indicating quite optimistic prospects for Syariah business amid COVID-19 through the use of digital technology. Even though Indonesia experienced optimistic trend of non-haram product, and some countries around the world are slowly opening their border to enable their economy to move again, and so do halal business, in the future, economy recovery still requires several alternative solutions, with the urgency of national Syariah economic and financial transformation demands an integrated and comprehensive development strategy in order to effectively accelerate implementation. Based on the various domestic potential, as well as global Syariah economic and financial conditions, the Syariah economic and financial development strategy must be mutually reinforcing and interconnected with an ecosystem. Bank Indonesia is currently implementing the blueprint for the Syariah economy and finance, with its vision of Indonesia becoming a global center of the Syariah economy and finance. The blueprint was based on the values and also core principles of the Syariah economic and finance. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the implementation strategy for the blueprint has been translated into a strategic development framework supported by three main pillars. The first pillars we call Sharia economic empowerment based on halal value chain, ecosystem development. HVC ecosystem development not only includes Sharia business players at various levels, yet also encompasses halal industry infrastructure and institutional aspect. Using an ecosystem-based approach, various elements within the ecosystem will be developed together comprehensively in order to increase the quality and the quantity, of course, of the national Sharia business players. From a sectoral perspective, the development program is focused on the major Sharia sectors, including agriculture, halal food and beverage, Muslim fashion and cosmetics, Muslim-friendly tourism, as well as renewable energy. The halal value chain development strategy itself comprises a local value chain to increase import substitution and a global value chain to strengthen halal industry export from Indonesia. To that end, in terms of halal industry infrastructure institution, halal industry zones are prerequisites to accelerate halal industry development. The second pillar is Sharia financial market deepening. Fundamentally, these pillars aims to increase source of economic financing for the economy. Market deepening is required to, of course, increase the liquidity management and thus support Sharia financing in response to the needs of Sharia business development. And the third pillar is strengthening research, assessment, and education, aims to increase public literacy and understanding of the Sharia economy and finance. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for a strategy implementation, Bank Indonesia contributes as an accelerator and initiator. Those additional roles are required to systematically expand the existing ecosystem for the Sharia economy and finance. To that end, development effort targeting in Sharia economy and finance cannot be implemented partially. Close cooperation, of course, between the relevant institutions and authorities is required to effectively implement the strategy and programs. Furthermore, the transformation strategy for the Sharia economy and finance has evolved and accelerated, not only at the national level, but also in the international level. Indonesia Sharia Economic Festival, we call as ISEF, is one of them, in which it is form of synergy with the global event. ISEF 2020 is part of the 2021 Halal Industry Summit series. ISEF is Indonesia's flagship event showcasing the multitude of integrated activities in the Sharia economic and finance sector. Moreover, ISEF 2022 is not just a ceremonial activities. It evokes a positive spirit and optimism for business people, especially Sharia business players around the world. Various activities such as webinars, exhibitions, business matching, and business coaching were held in order to build and develop an international halal value chain ecosystem. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to know that all participants gathered today are coming from many backgrounds and disciplines. Thus, I urge to all of you to share any constructive ideas and hold a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much. Have a nice webinar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Mr. Piono, for the welcoming remarks. And now, the moment that we have been waiting for has finally arrived, and we will begin this webinar entitled Global Halal Consumer Trends. As you can see in the PowerPoints that the pandemic COVID-19 has changed our life in so many ways. We started to care more about our health, and we begin to increase the sense of empathy to each other. And as you can see that the implementation of semi-lockdowns also work from home, causing also having some impact on the trend of Indonesians' shopping interest. Based on the research that made by iprice.co.id, using impressions from Google Analytics data, showing that the trend of working from home, also the high intensity of online meetings or Zoom webinars, also video conference, make the increasing of the selling of the webcam reaching until more than 1,500%. And not just that, the selling of bicycle also increased until more than 1,036%. Banyak banget orang Indonesia yang sekarang goes karena adanya PSBB dan juga adanya semi-lockdowns yang diterapkan oleh pemerintah. Dan kita bisa lihat bahwa also the office stationery selling such as folio paper and also instant noodles also increased until 377% and 155% each. As for the medical products, you can see in the slide that pandemics make people care more about their health. You can see that hand sanitizer selling increased until more than 5,000%. And this was following by the purchasing of vitamins, which also increased until more than nearly 2,000%. And the cleansing soaps that also increased until over than 1,300%. What about tourism in Indonesia? Pandemic COVID-19 also affected the halal tourism, also tourism as generally in Indonesia. You can see that on the latest survey that made by online travel marketplace, in this new normal era, staycations and family vacations are the type of vacations that Indonesians are longing for. 37% of the respondents are longing for family vacation, while the other 26% longing for a staycation holiday. Now, here comes the question. What about halal tourism in Indonesia? Has the pandemic COVID-19 bring some effect to the trend of halal tourism? And then what is the main focus for tourists when traveling in this new normal era? What about changes in attitudes, especially in society due to this pandemic COVID-19? I'm not going to talk about this topic all alone, because here with us there are panelists that are ready to share their perspective, their thoughts, and also their visions or tips and tricks about how to overcome these problems that we are talking about. First, I'd like to invite our panelists, the chairman of Indonesia Halal Lifestyle Center, Mr. Sapta Nirwandar. Assalamualaikum Pak Sapta, apa kabar Pak? Sehat?
Sehat, Lady. Thank you for helping me to make it a short presentation. I think I don't need more detail about the presentation. Have been done.
Of course, it's gonna be your presentation, right? Pak Sapta, udah siap dengan presentasinya tentunya ya Pak?
Ya.
Mudah-mudahan nggak ngantuk ya Pak Sapta, meskipun webinarnya siang-siang bolong kayak gini Pak Sapta ya?
No, this 2 o'clock of normally a sleepy time, but inshallah there is no time to sleep, because you know there is many there is two at least ladies, beautiful ladies will give you some perspective on global. Barbara, ¿cómo estás? Bien, ya, satu. Alia, where is Alia? Good. Okay, Pak Chris, also the beautiful one, Pak Ali, Mas Ali. You know, thank you for this opportunity. I think on behalf of the ILC, as a chairman of the ILC, really give highest appreciation to the Bank of Indonesia, the trust and years of collaboration. I think this is 3 or 4 years have been collaborated with you in organizing international conference and expo. And especially this time during the pandemic, despite of pandemic, we still do our best to conduct this webinar, which attended by more than 400. I think my staff reported to me, there are more 450 attendees internationally. And our friends from many countries, like in Canada, from Sri Lanka, from Turkey, from Paris, from Australia, has been attended this webinar. Chairman Ali, you have been followed by many of fashion mania over the world. And also I would like to thank Pak Priyono and also Lady Marina. These are very smart moderator and of course two speaker. Yeah, I will start because the time is very limited. My presentation, long presentation in 11 minutes. Yeah, then I will start. Please, the host, lady, please, my presentation. We can start this with webinar. Yes, yeah, this, actually, not many men traveling or what we call foreign tourists are traveling around the world. The travelers now is a virus. Virus is traveling around the world. You can see not one single country not affected by the virus. That's only just deep or medium or really very things one is affected by the virus. Indonesia also, you can see this. Can you make a full screen, please? Yeah. How about this full screen? I would like, yes, I would like to share you about the Indonesia. You can see now in Jakarta still semi or PSBB or lockdown for 2 weeks. Yeah. Why? Because this pandemic is still the curve still going up. Anyway, then of course this is a concern for everybody in Jakarta, also Indonesia. But I believe the government with society will resolve this problem, and we are going to find the good solution in the next months, in the next couple of months, right? Next slide, please. This is our research and publication, and based in this research and publication, I will share you what has been done, what's the research also results. Last one in 2020 with Dinar Standard, we conducted one of the famous research in the world that we call 19th signal of post-COVID. This is research in collaborating with Dinar Standard. Of course, in local, we have also marketing Islami, and with the Malaysian, we have also studied about one of very important sources for food is gelatin, because 19% of gelatin is for food, for chocolate, for yogurt, and also can be used for pharmaceutical and also cosmetic. 90% are not halal. Yeah, that's why the gelatin is very important. This is our collaborative research in publication with Dinar Standard and with other international research center. Next slide. Yes. Yeah. Please. This is the condition in what the halal industry affected by the COVID-19. I think there's many of people have used this like a background. Of course, I'm not going to detail. Especially what is the high impact? The high impact in tourism. Halal tourism also is not immune. Is also affected by COVID-19. Like also global tourism and travel. Global tourism and travel. Actually, he has all the risk of the what is job risk is more than 100 million people. You can imagine how big this pandemic affected to the tourism sector and travel. This next slide. Yeah, just this. And how about the consumer behavior change or in impact of the COVID-19? This is also important study has been done with us. The first thing is, of course, the health safety concern. This is very important, especially for my fellow friend in Jakarta. Health concern is the first. Yeah, normal in Jakarta, you can really book a good hospital because the good hospital are fully booked, and due to the increasing of the number of cases. And the second things, in this research, sentiment about travel have been affected. 64%, they are feeling unsafe to traveling. That's why no campaign on this to face in this problem. We make a big campaign, especially how the tourism sector, all the sector related with tourism, are campaigning about the gain of confidence, how they make a use of practical one in the health protocol in the destination. Yes. And of course, there is also consumer behavior change in the tourism, the increasing of number activities that replace of tourism, like, yes, webinar, seminar, also television, YouTube, etc., etc. This affected by the COVID-19 recently. And also the important thing, some of the potential international arrival, they consider they don't want to travel before the condition of COVID-19 in flattening curve or in what is called in decreasing significantly in this particular area or in destination. Mean that they are not going to traveling without any safe and guarantee in terms of health protocol in this destination. That's why now still many of people, many of country, not really fighting but discussing about the travel restriction has been done by many countries, and also travel bubble between 2 or 3 countries surrounding or neighboring countries, like Malaysia with Indonesia, New Zealand with Australia, and etc. That's why this also can be affected by the industry. Next slide. Yeah. How about the impact of the COVID industry in industry? Of course, the first thing hardly affected is the aviation and hospitality sector, hotel, airline, and also, of course, SMEs that have been affected. I'm very happy heard that from Pak Priono, the sector of food, some is going to be exported. I think that's a good sign for food. Yeah. Of course, we can elaborate a little bit about food, and also there is what we call in order to anticipate this industry area, particularly for the hospitality industry, they're also using certification in order to assure the condition of destination and also attraction, even the amenities of the industry, for the what we call travel industry. Yeah, like this one, there is a certificate about safe travel. Hilton's, they also all safe and everything related with guarantee or attract the people more confident to traveling in destination, travel destination. That's also actually affected to the industry. Okay, go ahead. Next slide. Yeah. This for food. Yeah, of course. Lady has been, mentioned one of the important for the food is online food, go food, and also even working from home that need food. But the most important is food is a basic for the immune body for the aged people. They are convincing without any good food, of course, there are problems for the immune. Then this is for the industry. Of course, for the government, there has to be change of policy, especially for exporting and for the halal supply chain. There should be more attention for the raw material and also the environment, or what we call ecosystem, on the food supply, right? Conti, go ahead. I just go move on slowly. But next slide, please. How about the future of tourism? Yeah, next slide. Yeah, next slide. Yes, this is a challenge and opportunity. When this pandemic will be end, no one knows. Wallahu alam bisawab. Or at least flattening the curve. That's why all government are trying to flattening the curve. Even the government of Indonesia, especially Jakarta province or Jakarta city, also try to flattening curve, because this is very important for livelihood of the Indonesians, especially in Jakarta or other province. Many scenario has been done and offered by university. Of course, there is pessimistic, there is optimistic, of course, there are realistic. How about the vaccine? Of course, many of country has been really pushing the scientist community to have the faster is the better for the vaccine.
I'm sorry, Pak Sabta, but your time is 3 minutes left.
Yes, I have right 5 minutes, Chairman, right?
All right.
Vaccine, yes, like Pak Priyono has 20 minutes, why not I'm 15 minutes, okay? Now, because it is important. The vaccine is now in Indonesia still online to be promoting in next January, okay? And this is a challenge also for the vaccine. The number 3 is how about the tourism itself? UNWTO in other webinar, World Travel Tourism Council, World Tourism Forum, dinner standard, they recommend only just 3. Of course, the important one is local tourists. That means local is Jakarta to Jakarta, and domestic tourists is Jakarta to Bandung or Jakarta to Lombok. This is very next slide. Okay, this is more scientific background. We have collaborated with dinner standard, a tourism strategy framework, return, reform, and return. That means that this is for short term, medium term, and of course 1 to 3 years. This medium term. What will be in this strategy? The important thing is how we can make a new approach in travel industry, especially based on new technology. And we need also investment in aviation. This need 1 to 3 to adapt this strategy. And next step, next slide. Okay, please. This is a more important and famous strategy according to me, according to me, because it's Saptahelic. It's not helix, Lady Helix, but it's Saptahelic. Okay, one behavior change. I have been mentioned the behavior change. And the important thing from this behavior change is government policy and action plan to reopening the destination. First thing, start local. Second thing, for domestic. When? Then we start for local first, and still have to be under the protocol, health protocol. And then number 3, the health protocol should be integrated in 3 areas. First is, of course, accessibility should be submit or should be under the control of the health protocol. Second is amenities, and of course, the attraction itself. This is number 4. Number 5 is about new investment. You can see new investment in IT, in RD, new business model needed also, and of course, share responsibility between government or stakeholder, and also the customer itself. That should be integrated in the one strategy in order to resolve or to revive this tourism in the what we call pandemic era. Next step, yes, this is I give you some example. Yeah, this is on the ground. MICE industry, yeah, we trying MICE industry. How about the MICE industry, please? Next step. Yes, virtual global halal tourism fair is 27th September. This new approach in technology, how we can make Happy World Tourism Day with the global halal tourism fair. This is virtual. And also under the SMIC, the Halal Expo, Mobile Expo. Of course, we have also the ESEP and visual and with IHLC for the next October. Lanjut, next step. Next slide, this for the all seat. You can see touchless parking technology, entrance lobby. There we don't touch anything. We don't need to touch anything, right? And physical distancing for the pointers. Hand sanitizer also touchless. And of course, there's many related with room sanitizer and disinfectant, etc., etc. This is an example how we have to settle new investment in this hospitality industry. Otherwise, we're not convincing our client to joining or to coming or to visiting our tourism destination. Next. Terus. Nah, www 7 times. Wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. That important. Wal afiyat and wasyukurillah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Mr. Sapta Nirwandar, for the very insightful presentation. That was a very perfect presentation that we could hear from Mr. Sapta Nirwandar. Please give round of applause for Mr. Sapta Nirwandar. I want to take a few notes on important things that you have explained to us. Yes, true that not many people traveling during COVID-19 because of the travel advice. And of course, COVID-19 bring high impact to halal food and then modest fashion, Muslim-friendly travel, and etc. But we also have to take a note that government policy and also action plan from all sector, also business, industry, take a very important role in how fast we will recover from this difficult situation. Right, Mr. Sapta?
Yes. Good.
All right, then.
You have it right. You are very smart, lady, and not only smart, but so beautiful.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Sapta Nirwandar. But please don't go anywhere because we would like to invite our second panelist. We will move forward to the next presentation. I'd like to invite our second panelist, the Director of International Relations of Instituto Halal Spain, Dr. Barbara Ruiz Bejarano. Good afternoon, Barbara. ¿Cómo estás?
Selamat siang. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. I talked to you in Spain and you replied to me in Bahasa. That was very good.
Thank you.
So
all
how are
is
you
well
doing?
here. Alhamdulillah. Alaikum salam. Alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah. How is it the pandemic in Spain right now?
Well, it's kind of under control. It's true that we have some outbreaks now that the schools and offices are back to normal. But life goes on, and I think the government fears more the economic impact of lockdowns. So with measures in place, we are more or less back to normal activity. So
right,
yes, there are some cases, but it seems to be under control.
All right, good. I hope everything is going well with you and the rest of the Spanish. And also, I think it's the very right time for us to strengthen to each other during this difficult time. So, Dr. Barbara, are you ready with your presentation?
We are ready.
All right, before you begin the presentation, I'd like to remind to our attendees that you can actually throw your questions right now. Jadi Bapak Ibu peserta webinar, silahkan ditulis pertanyaannya, and the format of the questions on the chat column will be your name and to whom or to which panelist you want to ask, and then your questions, okay? Once again, the format of the question and answer session that you can write on the column chat right now is your name, space, to whom or to which of the panelists you want to ask, and then your question. Okay, Dr. Barbara, you are ready now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, Dr. Barbara, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Terima kasih. So the topic I have chosen today is quick commerce. And also I would like to contextualize Q-commerce within the space of Europe, and particularly for halal in Europe. So we can go to the next slide. And first, I would like to talk a little bit about Islam in Europe, because I think the image of how Islam is in Europe, I think is not quite well understood outside. So first thing I will say is that the Muslim population in Europe is a minority. In some countries is less than 2%, in some countries it's about 5-6%, but still a minority. All in all, we have 50 million Muslims in Europe, which is a good size. And they're mainly located in 3 countries, UK, Germany, and France. And there are also other smaller pockets in the Netherlands, Spain, Italy, Austria, and so on. Now, Islam in Europe is connected somehow with the colonial past of European countries, which means a lot of the people going to, for example, UK, come from Pakistan or India, the former colonies. And that means that the social relationship between Britons and these immigrants is going to be marked by this colonial past. So the relationship is not equal to equal. We can say that there are some prejudices and some issues that unbalance the relationship between most of the population in Europe and the Muslims. There is also a phenomenon called conversion or reversion to Islam, which is is not very widespread. It's only a minority. But still, converts like myself, we have a very important role to play, because we are kind of playing between these 2 civilizations. And therefore, we can understand both sides and have an important role in dialogue and moving forward in the relationship. I would say also that the educational background is very divided. In the north of Europe, normally Muslims could be and can be professionals, valued professionals, but in the south, they're mainly cheap labor or people who come to do menial tasks, and therefore they're not very valued socially. And then we move to the big point, which is halal production in Europe. As you know, Europe has a number of halal production companies. However, Muslims are not yet much involved into it. And there's very little entrepreneurship. I would say that we have a big opportunity here that we might miss. And we have to be motivating our own young Muslims to become entrepreneurs and to become business owners within the halal market. And lastly, I would say that Muslims still are perceived, and Islam is perceived as supporting something in Europe. It's not well regarded as a European asset yet. So we also have a lot of work to do to change this perception, because actually we have very little social influence as Muslims. And I think this has to change. We have to change, and this will also help to put halal into value. We can move to the next slide. I'm going to go very quickly to this one, but basically what we have to say is that the principles of halal are constantly being readapted to face the changes and the challenges posed by constant change in society. Globalization, for example, has imposed certain challenges. For example, a lot of halal food is produced in non-Muslim countries. So we outsource it from these countries. And there are many things we have to look into this. Also, the trend to keep low-cost products in the market is damaging not only the quality of the product, but the quality of employment. But the demographics are there, and I will say that Muslims are about 24% of the world's population, so they still have a lot of influence and a lot of power as consumers. So there's a big drive for the halal market in this population. We go to the next slide, and then we'll talk about Q-commerce. Q-commerce is a recent practice, particularly in Europe, but in Indonesia, I would say you have Gojek, which is a very well-known and very valuable company, which is not, it didn't start as Q-commerce, but now they are capable, because of their network, they're capable of delivering goods in less than 60 minutes. This is the idea of Q-commerce, means quick commerce. And with the pandemic, this has become a major resort for people who are staying at home and don't want to go out. So there are two interesting things about Q-commerce. It's an urban phenomenon. And second is that some of the transaction happens online and some of the transaction happens offline. So basically you order whatever product you need, normally food, medicines, or other things, daily products basically. And then they are delivered either to your home or to the curb. The curb delivery is also very new. But in Europe, I will have to say that quick commerce has opened a window of opportunity for halal outlets, because halal outlets in Europe are very small, small shops or small restaurants. But now they're gaining visibility because they are now placed next to big outlets or big companies selling, for example, fast food or goods, stationery, medicines, personal care products, and so on. So it opens a window of opportunity for small halal outlets, and they are indeed, I use one of these apps and I'm looking for halal food, and I can see that the number of outlets selling is increasing. So there's a good chance there for halal companies. But Q-commerce also has a dark side, let's call it like that. So we can move to the next slide. Right, what happens when we change our model of consumption or our model of production and the value change? What happens is that we're going to impact some of these steps in the value chain. Will have an impact on social life. For example, we don't socialize as much. Now we eat at home with our family, but we no longer go out with colleagues or friends. This has changed. We have an impact of unemployment because if we don't go to restaurants but receive the food at home, we're also impacting the jobs of a lot of people who used to work in the restaurants, for example, your waiters and so on. We also have an impact on the environment. Now, I have to say delivery in Spain is done by bicycle. I've seen Gojek in Jakarta. It's a motorcycle delivery. Still, we have to check what are the impacts of this new way of consumption on the environment. Then we are kind of, when we resort to online business, we are also excluding part of the population because they're not technology savvy, or they don't use these apps, or they don't trust them. So we have to be also careful with the people who are not part of this business model. Then I would also like to mention the issue of your exposure, particularly your personal and bank details online. There's a risk there, and a lot of people do not trust these apps. So there's also a need to make these apps safe for users. And also, I would like to say that some companies are not only developing very strongly their models, they also have so much cash in their hands. They're able to become financial actors, and they are kind of concentrating financial power. So we also have to look into this, because they will, you know, the big fish eats the small fish. So we have to be careful that they don't kill other smaller businesses. So for example, Gojek started a few years ago, but now it's valued $9 billion. So it's probably the biggest company in Indonesia, and also Grab in Malaysia is a huge company. They move so much business, not only delivering people, delivering goods, but also because they handle a lot of cash. So these two emerging trends, particularly Q-commerce, is going to have a very high impact on us. So we have to move to the next slide. In conclusion, we have to keep an eye on this trend. We cannot stop progress and change. That's a fact. But we have to minimize the negative impacts. So we can favor the consumption of halal goods, which is one of the good points of Q-commerce. But as consumers, we have to demand that some ethical aspects of the value chain are implemented and respected. For example, the quality of employment. In Spain, people who deliver goods using these Q-commerce platforms, they're called the riders, and they ride bicycles, but they're very poorly paid. And we have to keep an eye that they're fairly treated as part of the value chain. Also, I think in Europe, it's an opportunity for Muslims to start their own businesses using commerce platforms, Q-commerce or e-commerce, because the cost of setting up the business is relatively low, and then they can gain a lot of visibility, which they will not do in the mainstream shops on the street. And also, I would like to say that Indonesia has a good opportunity here to invest in Europe, and especially to establish partnerships to ensure food sovereignty and the integrity of the halal chain. So this is just a very quick going through a recap about Q-commerce and how it's impacting Muslims in Europe and how we can connect this with Indonesia. Of course, the pandemic is now here, but this changes. Q-commerce is here to stay. Even if the pandemic moves away, a lot of people, they are now no longer going to go to restaurants. Sometimes they will feel they will just like to have the food at home, and then will use Q-commerce because it's very convenient, it's quick, it's not very expensive. So this trend, which has been pushed forward by the pandemic, is here to stay. Even if the pandemic goes away, this new trend will stay with us, and we have to pay attention that it doesn't impact our economies in a negative form, but rather that it would be a good opportunity for the halal sector. So that's all for me, this lady.
Dr. Barbara, please give round of applause for Dr. Barbara for
you.
the inspiring presentation. I already take notes on your presentation about the impacts of COVID-19 to culture on society, which are, yes, it's true that pandemic COVID-19 bring a lot of impact to our society and to our life, but it's also kind of like blessing in disguise because quick commerce in Europe grow pretty fast, such as the technological exclusion, also technological exposure, and increasing the financial technology. But I want to ask to you a little bit, Dr. Barbara. Maybe we in Indonesia already familiar with e-commerce, but we don't really know what makes it different with quick commerce. So what is actually the difference between e-commerce and quick commerce?
Okay. Well, e-commerce, electronic commerce, means you can buy goods anywhere in the world by using electronic platforms. For example, you said webcams were on the increase, right? If you I ordered a webcam actually because I didn't have one in my computer. It took a month to reach Spain. It came from China. If I want to have my dinner delivered, I cannot wait for a month. So quick commerce is quick delivery, less than 60 minutes. So for some goods, e-commerce is fine. Fashion, for example, is okay. I can wait a day or two to have my new clothes, now that you are going to move into halal fashion. But if I want my dinner, or if I need ink for my printer, or if I need a medicine and I don't want to leave my home for health reasons, quick commerce is there to serve consumers and is there to stay.
Okay, so it works like probably Gojek Indonesia. What you ask, what you order, we deliver it to you right at your doorstep, right?
Exactly.
All right then. Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara, for your explanation. Now we are going to go to the question and answer session. But before that, I'd like to ask one question to each of our panelists. First, I'd like to go to Dr. Sapta Nirwandar. Pak Sapta, in your opinion, Pak Sapta, how halal tourism behavior during the time of this pandemic? Is it any significant effect that actually caused by the pandemic COVID-19 to halal tourism, especially in Indonesia?
Yes, of course. It is a very effective. One of the hard affected by pandemic is tourism. This is not me to state it this one. It's the UNWTO, it's a credible organization. WTTC, even Dinas Standard, and also World Tourism Forum Institute. That's why there's already more than $1 trillion has been lost because this pandemic over the world. Indonesia has been mentioned by Tourism Association, mean hotel, restaurant, etc., etc. This already million rupiah has been gone. Why? Because we don't. Even Bali, 90% of the hotels are closed. You can imagine. Tourism is not only about the hotel. about the transportation. Tourism is supported by many of small, medium enterprises.
Yeah, right.
See, yeah, in the restaurant of the hotel, you need many things. You need rice, you need chicken, you need also kitchen. You know, lady, the different kitchen and chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
they
course,
need
you
both.
know.
Main infrastructure and also the raw material, what we call halal supply chain,
Yes.
from farming until fork. This is industry, big industry. In the middle, there is transportation and this one. And second thing is supporting by what we call creative economy. Creative economy, you can imagine in Spain, we cannot buy some souvenir from Spain without going to Spain because they are closed. In Indonesia also. Why? Because it's little client to visit. That's why they recommend, first thing is what we call local tourism, mean Jakarta, visiting around Jakarta. And we call domestic, what's the difference? Domestic is because we are island country, from island to island. Like also Spain, they can go on between in Madrid or just Barcelona. This is can be done. Why? Because still many of countries has issued what we call travel restriction. This is really unimaginable. Why? Because every country has to be protect their own population. This 57 and 97, even American people cannot travel to Europe, especially in France. Last webinar asking that. And also from China, there has to be reciprocal arrangement, what we call bubble tourism. Now, lady, I'm so sorry to tell you because it's already published in journal, in newspaper. Even you, lady, you cannot go to Malaysia, your neighbor country.
Yes,
Can imagine.
true.
And also Malaysia cannot traveling also to Lampung. Why? In Lampung they are forbidden for Malaysia. That's the situation. That's why affected so much in economy and also social life. Yeah,
Yes,
and also of course even religious life.
Yes.
You can imagine actually in Jakarta we cannot pray here in Istiqlal because this is really public affected and public more than 50,000 maybe. And we have just prayer in Jum'ah in our kampung in small mosque. And still in health protocol condition. And physical distancing with the scanning, with also mask, and of course there's no problem. We have to clean our hand and etc. That's
the key, right?
Yes, and
that's the only thing we can do to survive our life right now. To keep the social distancing, and then to keep wearing your mask, and also to keep your hands sanitized every time.
Yeah, but like also Al-Quran says, innamal yusra, that despite this problem, we still have the opportunity. Why? Yes. Many of home industry, they're doing food, halal food, even webinar, even the webinar, you dress up pretty well with the hijab, etc., and you have also using the cosmetic and etc. Yes. Still opportunity. And then e-commerce, T-commerce, or S-commerce. You know S-commerce?
Yes.
Barbara, you don't know S-commerce?
What is it actually?
Commerce, speedy commerce, or Sakta commerce. That's Sakta commerce, speedy commerce.
What is it?
Yeah, they're speedy. They're more than quick. When you ask, you can deliver easily. Why? Because the delivery from the neighbors. From our neighbors, from one complex. I'm living in the Pasar Minggu complex, and I asked pisang goreng in 2 minutes they arrive because from my neighbors. This is more than a quick commerce, speedy commerce, right?
Yeah, right. So you started to helping each other within your surroundings, right?
Don't forget also what we call media recreation, YouTube, what is called content. Even dawah in electronic manner, and etc. This industry of content is going up. Pharmaceutical is going up. Alkawin Barbara in Indonesia is famous, what we call wellness and herbal.
Herbal.
Using
Yeah, true.
herbal. This is very famous one. Is kayu putih. I don't know. You translate ready. What is kayu putih in bahasa Inggris or in Spain? Eucalyptus habla Spanyol. Itu habla hasta
Eucalyptus.
dan seterusnya. Ya, nah ini. This is herbal actually is going up.
Yes.
Because well, of course we are waiting for the vaccine. Well, vaccine not arrived yet. This is scientific problem, but this can be considered like medical. What we call traditional herbal. This is Indonesia's medical.
Right. So it's actually
Last but not least, lady.
Yes.
Last but not least is
Yes.
content for schooler. Cara ngajar buat sekolah, mengajar untuk sekolahan, pelajaran sekolah.
Oh yeah, the online teaching.
Yes, online teaching. Even Quran teaching. Ustadz, we don't use to go to the houses. They can use this system webinar.
Technology, right?
Technology. That's why. And
So
of
we can
course,
always find solutions in the midst of
Yes.
difficulty, right?
And high technology. Why? University has to find touchless. Before in tourism is high tech but high touch. Now in tourism, less touch, less technology also because less touch. That's touchless. Touchless.
All right. So it means that we can always find a way out in the midst of difficulty because
That's why I have been not be just what is I have not been in. I didn't go from 6 months I think to spa because it's cannot touchless spa or just mix. That's also one of the things we have to consider. Thank you.
all right then. Now we go to answer and question sessions. Right. Okay, Dr. Barbara and also Pak Sapta, there are already some of the attendees that are going to live with us in this afternoon, and they are ready to deliver their own question to each of you. First, we would like to ask Mr. Ihsan Ofut, the Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries from Turkey, to join us. Good afternoon, Mr. Ihsan Ofut.
Oh, this is a big
Thank
man.
you.
This is Secretary General of SMIC.
What time is it in Turkey right now?
How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
How are you,
wabarakatuh. So please,
Best
Mr.
wishes to all
Ihsan,
parts.
what time is it?
Yes. No, I'm listening. Yes.
All right then. Okay, Mr. Ihsan, I think it's time for you to throw the question. Please, you just mentioned to us to whom you want to ask the question, and then you can go ahead with your question.
Ready. He doesn't need to questioning. He has to be give some information about the global. He's a Secretary General of SMIC. This is a very important man. He's my friend. How good you just explain about the Turkish condition.
All right, you
Thank
can go ahead, Mr. Ihsan. You can actually just throw some question, also give some explanation to us about the global halal trends, especially in Turkey right now. The time is all yours, Mr. Ihsan. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate you for this nice webinar. It was very fruitful and good speakers. Best wishes and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you. First of all, I know very well both speakers and Bank Indonesia for their efforts and ISF for their yearly programs, excellent programs. Secondly, in Turkey, as Brother Sapta said, now Turkey has changed the position, halal quality infrastructure. They are based in national standards and they're using OIC standards. They have accreditation council and everything is starting in a professional way. And awareness about halal industry and halal consumption is daily growing, and new technologies, new researching, new testing methods are developing in Turkey. It's very good for us. But I'm not represent Turkey. I'm Secretary General of YC Institutions, Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries. I'm Secretary General of this. We are developing the high quality standards, especially in halal sectors. Till now, we have 11 halal standards, especially in halal food, halal management, halal tourism, cosmetics, standard certification, accreditation, laboratory, etc. And the new standards on food additives, etc. These are all developing, preparing by the member state, by the countries, not from our institute. We are just coordinating. Many things is doing will be in the future, inshallah. But for my question, first question to Brother Sapta, he has he give a lot of information about his efforts in halal lifestyle, etc. But for me, we need something should be standardized and not more terminology. For example, halal tourism, he says Muslim-friendly tourism, etc. We should use single terminology for each sector because it will be confused in the future. When we will say halal friendly, some people are wrong understanding, especially bad things in coming Islamic food. If you say Islamic food, it means only Islamic people will eat. We should say only halal food for all. But you say if Islamic food, Islamic ethics, etc., it will be like a kosher just for the religious people, just or for Muslims. It's one of the big threats for halal sector. We should be careful about the terminology. Many in the Middle East, in some countries, in the reports, they are talking about Islamic food. It's wrong because normally many things halal. Haram or non-halal is very limited. This is important. I want to ask him for the standardizing terminology in halal lifestyle and daily using the terminology in halal sector, especially he is in part of daily life. My sister Barbara, she is one of our important experts, also speakers in all civic activities. I want to thanks again to Sister Barbara. She did a good speak about the commerce. Also, we should be careful about the Islamophobia, and because we are living in the same world, especially in West countries in Europe, the Islamic food terminology create new Islamophobia. She's very experienced. What can we do for this type? Thank you very much, sister. Have a good webinar.
All right, thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Izanovut, for your explanation. And I'd like to go to Dr. Barbara, since your name is mentioned by Mr. Ihsan. Would you like to give any comments from Mr. Ihsan's explanation just now?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Ihsan is right. There is such thing as Islamophobia in Europe. Actually, I hope very soon I will be able to elaborate more on this in a coming seminar in the World Halal Summit. There is a backlash particularly against two elements: halal slaughtering and the label of food in the supermarket. And there is a big campaign called Boycott Halal in Europe. Well, it's a very noisy campaign, but mainstream consumers are not really following this. But some people are demanding that we label halal food as such, particularly meat. What happens with labeling is that you can discriminate. So the strategy I would like to the producers to follow is delabeling, which means we should not label things as halal or Islamic, because that will give the enemies an opportunity to identify and launch a campaign against this brand or against that brand. So, for example, the strategy of Nestlé. Nestlé, as you know, is the biggest player in halal production, in halal food production in the world. They do not label their products as halal. They give the information in the website. But when you go to the supermarket, you go to buy some Nestle chocolates or something, you don't see the halal label in Europe. You see it in Malaysia, in Indonesia, you see it in other countries, but not in Europe. In Europe, we follow a different strategy because of this circumstance. So the labeling is strategy, but the other important strategy is that, as I said before, we are not valued as a social, as a big social niche of consumers in Europe. So we also have to change this. We have to start lobbying the authorities in Europe. And I think the OSCE needs to have more presence in Europe. And we need to play the economic card, not the religious card. Europe is not a religious arena, and religion is very much a private concern within the laws of the European countries. But we still can play the economic card and pressure the authorities to demand and to make the regulation so halal products will be respected and they have equal opportunities with other products. And the same goes for Muslims. As I said, in many countries, there is discrimination and they don't have the same opportunities as other citizens. So we have to start doing something about it. But when we talk about Muslims, we need allies. We need allies from big countries such as Indonesia. That's why I was before mentioning that there are good opportunities for investment and also to gain visibility and power, lobbying power to the European authorities.
For your explanation, and I hope we can overcome the problems, especially the labeling halal, also Islamophobia in Europe, because we believe that based on your presentation, there are 50 million Muslims that spread all over Europe, also in UK, Germany, France, and also in Spain. Hopefully, we can overcome this problem soon as possible. Okay, now we are going to go live with another attendees, which is Ibu Ita Utamiwati.
Ready.
Yes.
Ready. Can I have some this important explanation?
Pardon, Pak Sapta? I can hear your voice clearly.
I will add the explanation from Barbara.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I think for the halal label it is important. But of course, different situation in Europe. But this I maybe a little bit or different views with you, Barbara. Because halal now is a trend, global trend. You can see studied or research from dinner standard. Even in France, there's 25% of Muslim population there. They are, of course, they are suffering about the pressing from the law, local law, etc. But the product halal still is going on. Why? The food is more than $1.7 trillion. This is yearly, before COVID, of course. I have just been in Toronto. Many of brothers and sisters, they are defending for the halal food. That I think, don't worry for the phobia. Phobia is still phobia, but we have to push. Why? Because halal food is healthy food, is safety food. You can imagine the announcement last time from China government, Shenzhen government. Now they are not allow the people to consume the wild animal. That's one. And last one, we at about WHO. That means World Health Organization. They announced that don't eat more wild animal. You also, of course, minuman keras ready, and etc. etc. This also related to the halal food. And Japan, they're doing what we call the Olympic game with serving the halal food that accepted. And Usain Obud, for the halal food, you just refer to Al-Quran, Al-Baqarah 168. There is no interpretation. Halalan toiban, not ethical food, not ethical, and etc. This is kosher. But halal is 168. And I give in Asia, of course, there is no problem, especially our brother and friend in Malaysia. The society in Malaysia has a very strong pressure. If the what we call Nestle or even Unilever, even McD, there is no label halal. The people tend to do not buy this, even in Singapore. That's the power of. Thank you, Lady.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Sapta, for your explanation, and also Dr. Barbara for your comments through Mr. Ihsan explanation in the previous. And as the question and answer almost over, it means that our first session also comes to an end. But before we end this session, I'd like to ask to our panelists, each of our panelists, 3 words to describe global halal trends. Okay, 3 kata untuk mencerminkan atau melambangkan global halal trends saat ini. 3 words from each panelist to describe global halal trends nowadays. I'd like to go to Pak Sapta first. 3 kata Pak Sapta, apa kira-kira Pak Sapta?
If business and for the world.
All right, for the world. Okay, and then we go to Dr. Barbara. 3 words, Dr. Barbara.
Okay, I would like to say that the halal trend is innovative.
Innovative?
But it should be inclusive and it should be ethical. We should keep this in mind all the time.
Okay, inclusive and ethical. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Barbara, and also Pak Sapta for your insightful presentation in this afternoon. But it means that our first session, finally over. But as you enjoy your cup of tea, also a cup of coffee at your house, you can actually enjoy a special performance that brought to you by Mia Ismi Halida and team.
Laksana air di gurun pasir, sejukkan jiwa yang kehausan. Di sepanjang keruh rapuhnya dunia, ku selalu merindukan belaimu. Ku ingin kau selalu bertahta dalam kalbuku. Kau hadir di setiap hela nafasku, hangatkan, alirkan butiran darahku. Betapa suci dan agung cintamu, tak sanggup nalarku memikirkanmu. Ku ingin kau selalu bertahta dalam batinku. Bimbinglah aku dalam pelukanmu, jangan lepaskan lagi. Izinkan malaikat menjagaku dari kelamnya nafsu dunia. Bawalah aku ke jalan cahaya, terang kerajaanmu. Jadikan mimpiku jelas sempurna, menyatu dalam istana surga. Kemana kapalmu kan berlabuh, di sana juga kau bermuara. Kemanapun hidupmu kau arahkan, di sanalah dermaga akhirmu. Yakinlah Ia bersembayang dalam hatimu. Bimbinglah aku dalam despite being far from you. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah, all praises to Allah. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, all praises to Allah, all praises to Allah.
Please give round of applause for Mia, Ismi, Halida, and team for their beautiful performance. Ini luar biasa banget ya, siang-siang dimainin biola, mudah-mudahan gak ketiduran ya Bapak Ibu semuanya. Meskipun tadi dinyanyiin lagu-lagu Islami, mudah-mudahan bisa menambah semangat kita untuk webinar siang hari ini dan terus menyemangati atau mengilhami global halal trends dan juga semangat untuk bisa memajukan ekonomi di tengah situasi pandemi. Okay, for next, as I told you that we are going to talk about a fashion industry. As we all know that pandemic COVID-19 has actually causing many impact to any sectors and also industries, also including fashion industry. Many people no longer make buying clothes as their top priority because the priority scale has changed due to the pandemic COVID-19. But in the other hand, if you can see that so many opportunity are growing pretty fast during this pandemic COVID-19. For example, the emerging of new fashion trends such as mix and match between your clothes and your mask to look more fashionable or color coordinated. Also, some factory that already produced some outwear that actually function to protect the body from the virus when leaving the house. Now here comes the question. What kind of impact that pandemic COVID-19 brings to fashion industry, and what can be done by small medium enterprises which is focusing on fashion industry to survive during these difficult times? And also what kind of fashion trends that people are looking for during this pandemic COVID-19? I'm not going to talk about this topic all alone because here with us there are two panelists that are very well known in the fashion industry and ready to share their perspective, their thoughts, and also their tips and tricks about how to overcome these problems. First, I would like to invite our panelist, founder and chairwoman of Islamic Fashion and Design Council, Ms. Alia Khan. Assalamualaikum, good afternoon Indonesian time, Ms. Alia Khan. How are you doing? Ms. Alia
Can you
Khan?
hear me okay?
All right, I can hear your voice now. How is the situation in London right now?
It's hopeful. People think that they can indeed be responsible and big enough critical thinkers to get through this without having to be told every step of the way what to do by their government. So that's the general feeling and sentiment amongst the people, and it's quite encouraging because they're quite supportive of each other to help each other get through it in the highest health and the highest mental state, which is very important as well during this time.
Yes, true. I believe that this is the very right time to support each other, because I believe when we support each other, it will be easier for us to fight this pandemic COVID-19, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it all starts with learning for yourself what is important, what is true, and what is effective, and applying it towards yourself and your family first.
All right then, so Ms. Alia Khan, you're going to explain us about the consumer trend of halal fashion industry in this afternoon, right?
Absolutely.
Are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so Ms. Alia Khan, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. So I think when we talk about the evolution of Islamic fashion, especially in current times, this is a time more than ever to remember that we are indeed Muslims. And when the mandate came down for all of our guidelines and principles, it was sent down for all times, not just good times. It was sent down for challenging times. It was sent down for time with your family, time with your business. And we are meant to embrace that wisdom, especially in a time like this. Next slide. So I think inadvertently, my organization, the Islamic Fashion and Design Council, a platform that I had founded and developed close to 7 years ago now. It's amazing how time flies. We became revolutionary really in what we were doing, because the whole idea was to support and develop the industry and the industry players. And whilst that remains at the forefront of everything we do, and the importance of the industry players leads to the importance of the actual global market, which is coveted. And it's a very important market to all, not just the Muslim industry players, but also the non-Muslim ones, as we've seen over the years, who have eagerly come into our space. But the revolutionary side of it is that we are probably the only ones in the fashion and lifestyle sector that have held on very strongly to our values-based principles. And we reflect that in everything we do, whether it's what we design, whether it's the artwork that we choose, whether it's the way we style and wear. Everything that is about us as Muslims is reflected in our craft and our art. Next slide. So what it means to be Muslim in today's era is probably more important than ever before. Today, you are asked to be Muslim by all standards and through all the wisdom that you have acquired through your deen. You are asked to uphold it today more than ever, to reflect it in your business, to reflect it in your ideas, to reflect it in the disruption that only you can come up with to resolve the challenges of today's time. I have nothing but good news to share for you. And that is that we are here and we remain strong and firm in our abilities to build and rebuild wherever our businesses require it, wherever our home lives require it, and our social lives require it. And in our particular case, all of them culminate together in some way or other through the fashion narrative. Next slide. And I urge you and implore you, my brothers and sisters who are listening right now, this is a time more than ever that our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, may Allah's peace and beautiful blessings be upon him. All that he had taught us, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is what is the most important thing for us to live by today. And if we don't live by sound ideology, we will certainly sink, because certain times are made for the not so stable to sink, and other times, or maybe the same times, are made for a more stronger foundation human being to rise. And I pray that we all rise together and we become an example during this pandemic to show people how one does remain firm and how one does get through it through creative thinking, incredible skills, wisdom that is beyond us, and to display that wisdom in the most humble way, acknowledging that it does not come from us, is the key to our success today. Next slide. So what we know is that we are the people of a certain type of ilk, a certain type of value system. That is the value system that even started the entire modest fashion industry. Remember, modest fashion is primarily led by the demand of the growing Muslim population. Our youth is growing twice as fast as any other youth population in the world. Now, please reflect on that. That means that we have a job not only to train and teach and raise and develop our youth in the light of Allah, but to help them to use that knowledge to get through all facets of their life. Today, we're talking about the business of Islamic and modest fashion and lifestyle products within the global market space in a challenging time when spending has entirely stopped in some areas and surprisingly picked up in other areas. So let's pick that apart. Let's look at this from a very critical perspective, and then let us redesign and reformulate our game plan and let us fit into it with the knowledge that we've been given. That knowledge was not done in vain. That knowledge was brought to you and sent upon you so that you can use it in times like this and be the most effective leaders in your own space. Next slide. So the Quran mandates that Muslims have to live a clean, just, ethical, and in a legal manner, and all actions must be filled with good treatment and respect for all. We see this message through and through in the various ayats of the Quran. And if you put that at the forefront of what you do when you're in this business, whether you're the consumer or you're the industry player, we all have a role to play. If we keep our basic character at the forefront of what we do, we then become the example that has been quite rare, I would say, in mainstream fashion until our group came along. We came and offered a different perspective. We offered the perspective of, hey, have a look at this. We can teach you how to be equally stylish, equally elegant, equally charming, but without breaking certain rules that would be good for you. Next slide. So we are taught that the level of success achievable through the Quran is primed by the 5 basic principles that all Muslims should follow. Now, when we prime ourselves for business, we're basically just building on a narrative that we know is the most powerful narrative. We don't need to figure out what success is and how to be successful. We were already given that secret. We have the key to success. Next slide. So when we talk about the keys to success, I will just paraphrase over here. We were already taught by our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, our most beloved leader of all leaders, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, that we understand the art of underspending through him. We know that we're not interested in fast fashion. We know that we're not interested in overconsumption. We know that we're not interested in conspicuous spending. We're interested in upcycling. We're interested in sharing. We're interested in ethics and, even swapping clothing. That's been done since the beginning of time. And we know what beneficial living looks like. We know what tayyib living looks like. And we've heard from Dr. Sapta and our beloved sister, Barbara, what halal is all about and how we should wrap our heads around these concepts and how we should make them a reality, not only in our lifestyles, but also in the work that we do. It must be displayed. I mean, our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam woke up before sunrise and he meditated with affirmations in the morning and he followed them in his prayer. He would take rest. He would take naps in the middle of the day. These are very important concepts for us to remember. We have rights over ourselves. Our body has a right over us. Our industry players have a right over us. If we decide to come into this industry, we have made an unspoken commitment that we will not shame one another, that we will stand and represent one another so that we can be proud of what we do and who we are. This narrative, brothers and sisters, is the most important thing for us to remember when we go forward. And we don't need to look very far. We have it within our deen and within the example of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Next slide, please. So we know that modesty is beauty. There's nothing wrong with beauty. Allah loves beauty. Allah is beautiful, and Allah has made everything beautiful. If we remain within the path of the straight way, we understand that there's nothing but beauty to be met along this path. So I implore you once again, let's not give in to panic. Let us not give in to fear, because we are Muslims. We fear nothing but Allah. All we know is that we are in a time where we have been thrown a few challenges. And these challenges we welcome, like any person of strong character would. We don't shy away from them. We don't fold. We don't fall. We stand taller, and we allow ourselves to be the beauty that Allah intended us to be. Next slide. You know, by default, we have become each other's third space. Just by being Muslim, we are each other's suhbah. We know that, right? Suhbah equals companions. Whether you know me or not, I know that if I ever meet you, you will automatically become one of my companions because we have a connection. That's the beauty of the heart that Allah has entire control over. He controls who he connects, and he controls how he connects them. Without even meeting one another, if we read about one another or learn about one another, we will find this immediate divine connection developing without any effort. That's the meaning of the third space that we all belong to right now. And today, maybe it's a little bit more virtual than ever before. But let's embrace this third space. Let's own it, and let's become the adherents to it. Let us become the khalifas that we are meant to be for this third space and welcome everyone, Muslim and non-Muslim. And our fashion allows us to do that in the most effective way, because fashion is nothing but fun. It's beauty, it's style, it's exciting. And that's a great tool to make a political and social statement without being offensive. So we can say politically, hey, there is no such thing as Islamophobia in our mind because we don't merit it. We are nothing but seeking purity and goodness. And let us show you our story through our style. Next slide. For Muslims, hope has come in the face of modesty. I think we all remember not too long ago when there was really no such concept as modest fashion. There was no such idea as modesty because it was taken to mean other things, and it was a very rarely used word. Today, it's so often used. Islamic fashion, modest fashion, halal lifestyle. These are words that you're even seeing in places like Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and you know, some of the leading magazines or even television shows where we would never have imagined that it would reach all corners of the world like that. It has reached the most non-Muslim of countries, the countries that have been maybe the most xenophobic, and somehow Allah has brought us to them with respect. Let us embrace this respect. Let us be grateful for this respect. And let us use this respect that we have built for ourselves to be the leaders in today's time of challenges more than ever before. Next slide. So in my closing, I'd like to say that Islamic fashion has proven that it does not rely on validation, acceptance, or explanation to justify its existence and success. This is an empowering message for all. Please take that in, take that to heart. We're breaking the bondage with peer pressure, and that's liberating. We're telling the world that we don't need this type of peer pressure to be accepted. We are individuals. We have our own character. We uphold that character, and we are proud of that character, not because it comes from a place of ego. It comes from a place of humility, and that character, that placement that we have is God-given. With the Islamic lifestyle, we can be real, be a unique type of beautiful, and preserve proven values set forth from the beginning of time. And when something is perfect, it never needs to be changed. That's why the system has been given to us from the beginning of time, because it was always perfect. We never had to change it or adjust it. We just have to live by it. It allows us to realize ourselves from seeking the gaze of approval from others. We are not seekers of approval. We don't need anyone's approval but Allah's. Because once we know that we have done right by Allah, inshallah, Allah will lift us in respect and in honor in all of societies. The race is not forward for popularity, only for positive contribution in society. Let us be recognized for that positive contribution. Ameen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Alia Khan, for your beautiful and inspiring presentation. Please give round of applause for Miss Alia Khan. And I've already taken a few notes from your presentation that everything that describe us as a Muslim can be reflected from what we wear, what we eat. It can reflect us as a Muslim. So there are no reasons for us to be afraid to show that we are Muslim. We should be proud and also strong to show to the world that we are Muslim. Also, the creative thinking and technology are the only way to solve our problem right now, especially in the pandemic COVID-19. Right, Ms. Alia Khan?
I can't emphasize enough the importance of us getting at the forefront of technology. And I know that that might be a daunting idea for many people, especially if you think, oh no, I'm just a creative person and I'm just an artist and I don't know anything about technology. I can barely work my own email. and I would say to them that any idea you come up with can very easily have a technological component. And technology is today's currency. Why not look into it a little bit? Why not empower yourself? Because that's where it's going. And let us show people that our ideas can indeed have that component so that it has that staying power, because that's what technology says today.
Yes, true that. So we can use technology in every way of our life, especially during this pandemic COVID-19 to solve our problem. All right, now we move forward to the next presentation. I'd like to invite our second panelist who is very well known in fashion industry in Indonesia. Please, Chairman of Indonesia Fashion Chamber, Mr. Ali Harisma. Selamat siang Mas Ali, apa kabar Mas?
Selamat siang, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sehat Mas Ali?
Alhamdulillah sehat.
Alhamdulillah. Ini buat Bapak Ibu peserta webinar yang sering datang ke Indonesia Fashion Week pasti udah nggak asing sama mukanya Mas Ali. Karena setiap ada Indonesia Fashion Week, Mas Ali bisa dipastikan orang yang paling sibuk mondar-mandir, bener ya Mas ya?
Ya Mbak, dulunya seperti itu. Tapi sekarang kita sudah ada ISEF dan ada juga MUFES. Jadi yang memang fokus ke modest fashion.
Oke, mungkin nanti Mas Ali bisa juga share tips and tricks ya Mas ya. Tentu karena fashion industry menghadapi beberapa situasi sulit karena pandemi COVID-19 ini. Mungkin nanti Mas Ali bisa berbagi sedikit tips tentang bagaimana teman-teman UMKM yang bergerak di bidang fashion industry bisa bertahan dan juga melakukan adjustment atau adaptasi-adaptasi supaya mereka bisa tetap bertahan meskipun di tengah situasi sulit. Betul ya Mas Ali ya?
Betul.
Alright then. So Mr. Ali Harisma, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right then, Mr. Ali Harisma, the stage is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, lady. But before I start my presentation, I would like to thanks to Bank Indonesia. I've been really honored to be part of this webinar, and I hope I can share my experience and my idea about the modest fashions and the future of the fashion industry in Indonesia. Before I go through my presentation, I would like to kind of like push. Here we're talking about a what is sustainable fashion and also global trend. In the earlier presentation, Ms. Alia Khan is, she talked very clearly. She's like a fashion preacher here. So I think, and before that is Pak Sabta and Ms. Barbara from Spain also speak about the halal industry, and I think all of this is related, and one of the important product is fashion, and I think I will focus on this one, and the one I think I know some of the trick because I've been around here quite a while. What is the? A lot of people always ask me or looking for answer in every season, like what is the next trend, what is the future fashion, what we're gonna do, what is the color, what is shape. So this is the old questions. For the new question is, fashion now is very seasonless. We don't have much season anymore, and we don't overproduce. Of course, we don't do a lot of collection, full of collection. A lot of people will do small collections, made to order, ready to wear, and all. I think most of the people who read about fashion, I think they will know. And this is what is the future fashion from my perspective, is to slow down the fast fashion. Why I say to, it's not only me who say slow down the fast fashion. The fast fashion is taking over the world. I will explain to you a little bit in my presentations and how I think before I go to my presentation, I give you the idea how can we slow down the fast fashion. We slow down with the fast fashion with ethical and with our identity. Ethical is how we made our product. Is ethical, ethical way how to make our fashion product. And with our identity, I think we also can slow down, because our identity is the one who attach with us, and there is a lot of personality and a lot of history and a lot of from our ancestors. So what is our identity, especially Indonesian? As Indonesian, our identity is our culture and our traditional textile in fashion industry. The culture, the Indonesian culture, is very, very important in our fashions, and it's been and become an inspiration to the big, one of the biggest designer in the world. There is Batiks and ICAT who been get inspired by a very important designer, a famous international designer. So what about our designer? What about the small business enterprise Indonesian? We should believe. If they believe, we also need to believe that our culture and our local textile is very important. Okay, and our second identity as Indonesians is modest fashion. Our strength, because we are the biggest Muslim population in the world, so we have an identity as a fashion in fashions, which is modest fashions, and this one is generate a lot of business in Indonesia, and hopefully we also can collaborate and we can do a lot of business globally. Why we don't set up the fashion trends in the world? Why? Because I think we have the ability to set up a trend for the future. There is a few steps I will say after. Hopefully, because I think the time is very limited. I will do a little bit faster, but I will say some of the important things that I think for today's presentations. And I think to set up trend and to balance our lifestyle with more mindful products. In fashion, of course, ethical and sustainable is the one. And this is I think it's the future of the trend is sustainable fashion. This is how I think to have a sustainable product and sustainable fashion, we need to do something, because fashion is not only clothes, the clothing that covering our body, but there is more than that. The process and the impact of the clothes is very big. If we do something bad in the process, the impact of making the impact to the society and to us and to the world is very big. Okay, can you please go to my next presentations? Yep. Sustainable fashion, sustainable lifestyle. This is what I kind of pushing to Indonesian fashion industry. If we believe in sustainable fashion, our lifestyle should be also sustainable. The way we live at home, the way we live everywhere, you know, we should believe that we don't live to harm the environment. So if we believe that, I think sustainable fashion is easy to achieve, you know. And why is it sustainable? I mean, is it something new? It's not new at all. You know, sustainable is been there in the industry for a long time. So sustainable fashion is in Indonesia is last 5 years we working on it. I know we're not perfect. We're not our product is the sustainability content is not a lot, but we getting there. And I promise you, I think our designer and our small medium enterprise who are very promising now in Indonesia, they will support this campaign and they will believe, you know. Our homework is not only us, but it's also the consumer around the globe, especially in Indonesia, you know, the biggest consumer of fashion, modest fashions. We need to convince them that to consume sustainable fashion is very important, you know. It's because the fashion industry is been driven by fast fashion, which is hurting our environments, you know, as in my presentation, is 10% of humanity carbon. And also here, also we all in the fashion, we also polluted our ocean, you know, from the coloring and all of that, you know, with the wrong process, we will harm our environments. Can we go next? Yeah. Here, fast fashion, maybe some people, they don't know about fast fashion in Indonesia. So I think the international people they've been reading this one for a while, but I will repeat because I think it's important, you know. This is term, you know, at the moment, a lot of fashions people, player in the world, they're doing fast fashion, you know. For example, in the past, we have fashion weeks, you know, we will have the product 6 months later because people need to order and, you know, to meet the buyers, get order and on the process. But now with technology and with the other, with the wrong process, the fashion is become hurting our planet. And this is time for us to responsible, you know. And fast fashion is make the shopping is, of course, it's much easier and more affordable. Ironically, the clothes, you know, everything else is more expensive. And the clothing, the more it's cheaper. You know, this is it's actually unacceptable, and I think we must do something really wrong. Why the fashion industry is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And this shouldn't be ethical to do this, because the pressure of to reduce the cost and to speed up the productions and time mean environmentally concern to cut the name of the profit mean is because the profit we cut all our process. That mean is the correct process become wrong process because the profit. And because that, I think there is a born the fashion product called fast fashion. So here is my hashtag. You need to know the story behind the brand you love. So everyone in the beginning, I say the clothing is not just clothing. You know, I'm working in the fashion industry. It's not just for fun only. I know fashion should be fun, but it's not only fun only. We are serious on this one because we ask people to wear our product, and it's most of the people in the world is wearing clothes. So we need to be understand to know how the people when you buy product in the brand, you need to know the behind them. you know, as in the picture, because now it's very blurry between fast fashion and slow fashion, because a lot of them you see there is a beautiful product, you think it's slow fashion, and you make mistake. This is a lot of them are fast fashion. So that's why you need to know the story. You need to know how they your product made, or who make your product. Okay, can you go next slide, please? Here, the sustainable goal. I don't want to read about sustainable goal. I just point you, there is 17 sustainable development goal. So I think you can read by yourself. It's easy. There is a floating everywhere about this, but it's still very, very important to read and to understand the goal to make our Indonesian, especially in Indonesia, our sustainable product is more sustainable all the time. You know, I just do. Can you go to the next? Yeah. And next, here is the key of the sustainable. Can you go next again? Yep. The key of the key is the people, the planet, and profit. Of course, you know, we're talking about sustainable. We're not talking about losing money, and then because we spend so much money to become sustainable, is not right. This is not sustainable. We need to have a profit to become sustainable, you know. So it's not easy task to mix and to make ingredient so we can or work properly, ethically, and we have to work very carefully and mindfully so we don't hurting our planet. So 3 of these, what we call sustainable. In fashion, it's very important. We have to do 3 of them. This triangle is the most important to make our product is sustainable. Okay, can we go next? Local for global. Let's think about potential. You know, we don't talk about, you know, cheap, and we don't talk about cheap and trendy product. Why we don't learn how to show properly is to make our product more long-lasting product. The product more meaningful, the product have more impact. So how can we do that? So if we want to take the market with our sustainable product, we need to bring our local product. I know we have a lot of source and we have a lot of inspiration. Why don't we bring our local product to the global? You know, for hopefully, if we do that, we can help other people to become also sustainable. There is a lot of a phrase and a lot of example that it take crisis to form the tactic, and the fashion is also no exception. So when we have a crisis, we have a very we have become genius because there is a crisis. So some of the best design were born from struggle, including like the famous Coco Chanel and other big brand in the world, you know, because the crisis and struggling, where we are thinking about a brilliant product that can change the lifestyle. You know, can we go? This is also, I will say, in the history, you know, this is what I said before. We need to have wake up call, you know, and the wake up call is now. Now is the wake up call that we need to collaborate. We need to rethinking with what we're doing. If we're doing something hurting to others, including our planet or our neighbor or family. So it's very important in the fashion industry, as I said in the beginning, we have to work ethically. Let's go next. So I don't want to take a lot of time. The new trend, what is now is about online and sustainable. I think word sustainable is not only just nice word, but it's very important word. And everything now we can touch by online to make it easier and faster. And I know you know what I mean. Is technology. We need to use technology, and sustainable mean we need to balance. We cannot overuse in everything. Technology or everything. If you don't balance it, then it's not become sustainable. That's what I think is what should be now. And next. To become one of the world fashion destination, Indonesia is have a dream to become one of the world fashion destination, especially modest fashion, And I think Indonesia is ready. Our fashion industry is ready to collaborate with the world. So small step make a big, huge difference. So I hope by sustainable, we can make a big difference in our industry. Thank you.
All right, please give round of applause for Mr. Ali Harisma for the presentation. Mas Ali, I already take a few notes from what really important from your explanation that people, planets, also profits are the key to sustainable fashion, and sustainable fashion is the future of our fashion. Also, one of the most important thing that we have to also remember is local for global. For every fashion industry, especially in Indonesia, how we make our local product to be well known globally from its factor maybe, or from the fabrics, from the quality that made is the product become something that wearable all around the world. Right, Mr. Ali Harisma? That's the point,
Yes,
right?
It's correct. Yeah.
All
thank
right
you.
then. Okay, now we are going to go to the question and answer session, and there are two attendees that are going to live with us. Now I'd like to go to first our attendees, Mr. Irshad Kader, the CEO of Global Think from Australia. Are you there?
Yes, I am there.
All right.
Hello. How
Good
are you?
afternoon, Mr. Irshad. What time is it in Australia?
Thank you. And it is 7:17 p.m.
7 a.m. in the morning?
7:17 p.m. In the evening.
Oh, in the evening in Australia. In which
Yeah,
part of
that's right.
Australia do you live in? In Sydney, Melbourne?
I'm in Sydney. I'm
You're
in Sydney.
Sydney. Wow, what a beautiful city. All right, Mr.
Thank
Irshad,
you.
you can mention to whom panelists you want to ask, and then you can go with your question. The time is all yours, Mr. Irshad.
Thank you. Actually, my question is to Sister Alia. And first of all, let me thank Dr. Gupta for Dr. Sapta for organizing this wonderful session, and he always does with his efficient team. So this question goes to Sister Alia, and it's a wonderful presentation, Sister. But this is something very important for us to know, because there are a lot of brands, global brands, like Macy's from the US and Marks and Spencer, also H&M. They are also coming out with a terminology called modest fashion. Sometimes it is not really modest fashion when you look at it from a halal perspective or from an Islamic perspective. This could lead to some misinterpretation from our sisters, whether it's really modest fashion and is this what Islam talks about, modest fashion? So from your council, have you thought about it, and are you taking any action on this part? Because we have to clearly define what is modest fashion in Islamic perspective. I think this is my humble question from you. Thank you.
Irshad, for your question. And Miss Alia Khan, are you ready with the answer?
Yes, thank you. Thank you
Yes,
so
you may
much,
go ahead.
Mr. Irshad, for your question. We have been constantly approached with this question from the beginning, and we do our very best to always stand by what is the real definition of a modest lifestyle. We do that through our media initiatives. We do that with every single interview. Perhaps you could even tell by today's presentation that I try my utmost to really hone in on the definition of the Muslim character and the Islamic profile, and especially the wider modest profile, which is, as I mentioned in my presentation, primarily led by the global Muslim consumer market. We do have a strong secondary following of the Jewish, Catholic, and Christian audiences, and even a great deal of non-faith-based audiences. However, they all are, their biggest appeal is the level of coverage and value system that we embrace when we talk about fashion. Excuse me. So when we talk about Macy's and H&M and anybody else that is trying to come into this market and perhaps trying to distort the narrative or not grasp a full understanding of the value system, to be quite frank, my answer to that is that we just have to rise stronger and taller. Perhaps we are not being heard loud enough, and perhaps we are not conveying the message strongly enough. So really it falls on all of our shoulders. We as a council, myself as an individual, and any counterparts that I can influence and affect and educate properly and empower them and entrust them to go out there and relay that message in an effective manner is the best and most that I and my council can do. However, I highly encourage that if you are challenged with that type of messaging or would like a little bit more understanding or training even, I would volunteer my time. I encourage you to reach out to myself or my colleagues, and we will help to empower you to be able to convey what the reality of the modest lifestyle is and what the real beauty and appeal is to the modest lifestyle that perhaps is not fully being conveyed by our mainstream counterparts who are also trying to embrace this commercial market.
Right. Thank you for your answer,
All
Sister
right.
Alia.
Thank you so much, Ms. Alia Khan. I hope Ms. Alia Khan's answer can fulfill Mr. Irshad's curiosity, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Irshad. Now we go to the
worries.
next question that already written in the chat columns. It is from Maulidia, and the answer is for Ms. Alia Khan and also Mr. Ali Kharisma. First, to Ms. Alia Khan, what are the opportunities and challenge of halal fashion in countries with a non-Muslim majority? Nanti mungkin Mas Ali bisa menambahkan soal apa saja yang mungkin bisa dilakukan pada negara-negara yang memang mayoritasnya bukan mayoritas Muslim. Bagaimanakah perkembangan fashion, Mas? Apa yang kira-kira bisa dilakukan oleh pelaku bisnis di sana untuk kemudian bisa mempertahankan fashion industry terlebih di tengah situasi pandemi seperti ini? Okay, we'll go to Ms. Alia Khan first. What are the opportunity and challenge of halal fashion in countries with a non-Muslim majority? Please go ahead, Ms. Alia Khan.
Well, the challenges, especially during a time like this, are quite apparent, and I think therein lies the opportunity as well. We're dealing with a global pandemic which has greatly affected our ability to do business in the way that we once did. Now, therein also lies a huge opportunity. We have an opportunity to see what's happening around us with open eyes. We can see where the fear is. We can see where the most affected areas are, especially when we're talking about non-Muslim majority countries. This is an opportunity for us to speak a little bit more about the opportunity that still remains in modest fashion and still remains quite strong. So I would say that we need to take a step back. We need to see what is the current challenge. For example, at the moment, we know luxury has really failed. Luxury usually tends to be the first victim of an economic demise, and that's what we're seeing right now. Luxury is struggling quite a bit. We're seeing that professional wear is struggling. We're also seeing that anything to do with occasion wear, like a wedding or parties or whatnot, that is also not doing as well as it once was. What's doing well is athletic wear, loungewear, athleisure, and anything to do with specific niche areas like yoga and Pilates and things like that. We know that people are really picking up on their home activities, and that is where we need to look into the opportunities for modest fashion and be an example as to how we make that transition without compromising on our value system and our messaging. So please put that messaging at the forefront, because sincerity is a power. And if you remain true and sincere to who you are when you put your work out there, the narrative becomes clearer and clearer. And that therein lies the solution to Brother Irshad's concern, which is a very valid one, is that what's happening when our message gets hijacked by the message of those that don't really have an understanding of what we stand behind. And so this is a quieter time around the world, hence your voice will be more greatly heard, inshallah.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Alia Khan, for your explanation. And I'd like to go to Mr. Ali Charisma. Maybe you would like to add some explanation about the opportunity that people can see, or the fashion industry can see, especially in the country with a non-Muslim majority. Please, Mr. Ali Charisma.
Yes, the challenge, thank you, lady. I think the challenge is to adjust, to the market, because most of the, what is the difference between our product and their product? Their product is the non-ethical, or the product that we made, and the product what they made. The difference is the process. The challenge is to convince the consumer to see the process, how we make our product. This is the huge challenge for us, I think. We can design and make a similar product, but I think a lot of consumer, they don't know the difference, which one is better product. And also, just for you to know, I think we all understand and already know that a lot of most of the market, fashion in general, I think is consumed by a lot of Muslim people as well. So that means is even in Indonesia, Muslim people is consuming a lot of product that is not modest fashion. The people, the brand that's from outside, that is a huge brand. It's fast fashion. I think majority of their client is Muslim, Indonesian Muslim. So this is our huge challenge to convince the customer or ourselves to believe that sustainable and ethical fashion is very, very important. If you believe in ethical fashion, we need to know the process, who made our product. Then we have changed to compete healthy in the world, I think. So the difference is the process. The challenge is to convince our customer. Thank you, lady.
So much, Mr. Ali Charisma, for the explanation. And now here comes another question. Our last question for the whole session comes from James Noh, and the question goes to Ms. Alia Khan. That he asked you about the definition of modest fashion. It sounds like a very broad term. And is there any industry consensus or standard to define modest fashion? Ms. Alia Khan, you can answer the question.
Thank you so much. That's a broadly asked question, and it's often told to a lot of people that, well, let's define modest fashion. It's broadly termed as something that's very conservative, that tends to cover from the wrists, arms to the wrists to the ankles. I think it's there's no compulsion in religion. So we're looking at a industry that allows.
Ahead, Ms. Alia Khan, is there any problem with your screen? You can go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear your voice.
So sorry, I lost sound for a while there. So, there's no compulsion in religion, and I think that's a very important message when it comes to modest fashion. It is left to the interpretation of the consumer. However, if we study this a little bit more deeply, we don't, in my council anyway, preach people that they must cover a certain way. Everybody's on their journey. Everybody can understand and see what the base guidelines are. Whether they're ready to even wear a loose scarf on their head or a full hijab, or even go, as far as they think that they should go on the coverage, is entirely up to them. It is their own personal journey based on a personal relationship with their Lord. That is the first and foremost. What we do is we are here to basically enable you to make the choices that you are required to make by your own understanding in your own journey. So we allow and enable initiatives to be developed and funded for the benefit of designers and artists and manufacturers and the vast industry players that are required to bring that end product to the consumer. But we would never go as far as to tell you how to wear that scarf on your head. And we don't even have any control that someone that buys that scarf is perhaps not going to wear it as a sarong around their bikini at the beach. There is absolutely no guidelines that we enforce. We have been told and asked many times by several government partners that we should put out some sort of guidelines and some sort of an explanation. Whilst we do answer the question when we are asked, what are the basic guidelines for modest dressing? And we explain that in general, women in particular, there are some guidelines for men which are a little bit looser, but women in particular are asked to cover to their wrists, down to their ankles, up to their collarbone, not too tight, no, sort of chest or back space or any skin showing. And the scarf, should a woman choose to wear it, is also an accompaniment to such an ensemble. So that is our loosely more general-based answer. And then based on that, it is the private journey that you undertake on your own will. No one is forced to dress that way or wear a scarf. And you then determine what is best for you with your relationship with Allah. That is at the forefront of everything we do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ms. Alia Khan, for your answer. Also, Mr. Ali Karisma, for the beautiful presentation. And as our question and answer session comes to an end, it means that our webinars are also almost over. But before we close the whole session, I'd like to invite the steering committee from Central Bank of Indonesia to sum up or to recap our session for the previous 2 hours. So please, Budiana from the Central Bank of Indonesia, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished speakers, Dr. Sapta Nirwanda, Dr. Barbara Bahenaro, Mr. Ali Karisma, Mrs. Ali Khan, and all distinguished participants. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, we have finished our very interesting discussion today about global halal consumer trend, and we believe that we are having a rich and thoughtful insight in understanding the global halal consumer trend amidst COVID-19 pandemic. We have noted some issues that we can conclude from our discussion today. First, we are realized that the pandemic COVID has an impact on the increased risk of a global economic recession in 2020, where trade volumes have decreased in line with a falling demand. Many countries are locked down or restricted movements on their citizens, which causes a halt for many businesses such as tourism, restaurant, and even retail, including Islamic fashion sector. Due to pandemic, tourism and finance are the most hurting globally. In nowadays, when one's traveling, they will first concern about the health protocols and facilities in the travel destination. There is also an effort of certifications in the travel destination to attract more tourists, as in ensuring tourists that their travel destination is safe by health protocols. Most affected sectors, aviation, hospitality, MSMEs, but many able to sustain by using online marketing strategy. Second, having the condition, consumers still have optimism and do some adjustment, including rise of the number activity online replacing halal tourism, with some transaction is facilitated with e-commerce. And today, Dr. Barbara introduced us about Q-commerce or quick commerce, such as Gojek. Quick commerce opens opportunity to halal outlets. Most of them are small outlets and the number is increasing. There is a potential for halal business to grow. However, if we implement halal quick commerce, the model of consumption will change, which will affect the value chain. And the existence of Q-commerce has impact on social life, impact on employment, impact on environment and technological inclusion, technological exposure, and increasing financial power. For the future, we should be careful for the negative impact, particularly that ethical aspects of the value chain, be part of the productive side of commerce and establish partnership to ensure food sovereignty and integrity. Third, from the industrial perspective, some Sharia business players from Islamic fashion sector have tried a new strategy facing several challenges for changing demand and market. The pandemic urged halal fashion industry to stay true to the modest fashion according to the Islamic values while being creative in business. Indonesia has campaigned to make Islamic fashion sector to be more sustainable and become to be a halal lifestyle. Demand that ethical aspects of the value chain are implemented and respected. We have already done the initiation and we do hope that it will be a global campaign also in order to reach the sustainable development goals. And last, there are at least 7 recommendations that we can do. The first one is IT technology to ensure the health and safety protocols in tourist destinations. Second one is marketing innovation to educate and attract local tourists and also to educate the local communities. The third, educate the tour operators and local government to create more outdoor activities in tourist destinations. Fourth, how business should be innovative, inclusive, and ethical. Fifth, halal fashion industry should be emphasized on creativity, quality, and Islamic values and ethics. Six, halal fashion industry should also use technology to move forward. And seven, the effort could not be implemented partially. Close cooperation between the relevant institutions and authorities, both domestic and international, is required to effectively implement strategy and programs. Thank you very much for your attention and participants. And inshallah, from now, we try to establish our new spirit, our new friendship, our new partnership, new optimism to enhance our power facing the new era together. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Budiana, for your summary and also conclusion for our webinars today. And as I've already promised you in the beginning of these webinars that there will be some prizes from Bank Indonesia, also from some of our sponsors, to be given to the attendees who appear to be the most active attendee today. From Bank Indonesia, also our sponsor will get you in contact personally to deliver the gift to you, especially to those who will receive the gift on this webinar. So from Bank Indonesia and also from the sponsor, will get in touch with you to let you know about where this gift will be delivered. Okay, so as our session comes to an end, it means that our session or our webinars are all over. And on the behalf of our steering committee today, I'd like to apologize if there's any mistake I have made during the whole presentation or during the whole webinars. And also I would like to thank you for being so attached to these webinars, and hopefully these webinars will bring a lot of benefit to each and every one of us. Finally, I am Lady Marina signing off. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye and see you on the next webinars.